You're good?
Hey, at this time, I would want to call our regular monthly board meeting to order. And would you please join me in a moment of silence, please? Thank you. And would you please stand for the pledge of allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, right quick, I just want to open up with a few comments. We have our new Senator-elect Dave Craven with us tonight. Thank you for coming to our board meeting. Appreciate it. And also, and we're going to touch on it in just a few minutes, but it's kind of sad tonight. Matthew Lambert, 12 years, this will be his last board meeting. And Marty Trotter, gosh, I guess he's been with us like 27, 28 years. This is his last board meeting. But we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. But I was just wanting to thank everybody for our staff and everybody involved, and I mean all the staff. It takes everyone from the top to the bottom to make it work, keep kids in school. And I think Dr. Agani and myself were talking last night. This is probably, I think, the 64th day, and 63rd or something. But we've had kids in school from day one, and not many people can say that. And without, it's not been easy, and there's been a lot of sacrifices from staff. Parents have had to be flexible, but we're proud of that. A lot of people, I know when we started school, you guys will be out in 2 weeks, you won't last. And who would have thought? Here we are a week before Thanksgiving, and we're still in school. That's really great, and we appreciate everybody working with us. And it probably is not going to get any easier the way it sounds, but I do hope we're committed to continue to try to make this thing work. I had several texts, and I can assure you, parents, those that ask, this is not a special call board meeting to cancel school. We want to continue going to school, hopefully, as long as we can. But anyway, at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Gainey to share some comments.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. Today was day 64 of the 2020-2021 school year. I want to thank our students, our staff members, and our parents for all of your help this year. Our school system would not have made it to this point in the school year without the great work of all three groups, students, staff members, and parents. All of you have been awesome in my book. As we move forward, our school system needs everybody's help, especially with the approach of the holiday season. I urge everyone to please continue to wear cloth face coverings. Please continue to practice social distancing as much as possible. Staff members and students, if you do not feel well, please do not come to your school's campus. Please continue to engage in the best practices in terms of safety in regard to COVID-19. Our county has had to work hard to slow down the spread of COVID-19 to prevent our schools from being affected. Without such teamwork, our ability to have school and school activities such as athletics will be jeopardized. And athletics has just started back up, and I know there's a lot of excitement as we start volleyball and cross country. And other athletic teams follow as far as their seasons go. Without a doubt, I would not have wanted to enter at any time in this long battle with any other group than the groups of students, staff members, and parents that we've been involved in with this long battle, and it's nowhere from being over, not close. I want you to know that all of you have my highest level of respect, and I'm very proud of what everybody has done up until this point, and I know we will continue. Over the past month, I've had the opportunity to visit several classrooms through Google Meets as far as our Leadership Reads program. Went several months and did not, visiting classrooms, but did not read in classrooms, and a teacher one day said to me, "When do you come to my classroom to read?" And I said, "Well, it'll probably be when we get things back and more like we're used to them, and the teacher suggested that maybe I could use Google Meet. So I want to thank several teachers for allowing me to be a part of their classroom with Google Meets in the last couple of weeks. Trinity Elementary School, Miss Moran, first grade, Miss Bresnell, first grade, and Miss Troxtel, first grade. Excuse me, it's not Miss Moran, it's Miss Morgan, I misspelled that. Hopewell Elementary School, Miss Diaz, kindergarten, Miss Williams, kindergarten, Miss Stepp, kindergarten, and Miss Carpice, kindergarten. Now, I mentioned this for another reason. These experiences with Google Meets have been great for me to see the challenge of teaching remotely. Teachers, I realize it's difficult, and these experiences showed me that. However, it is our only way right now. Please know that I value your hard work and had a first-hand experience of how it feels to teach someone who is not right there with you in classroom. Of course, I don't claim to be anywhere near the teacher you guys are in the classroom throughout our school system, but I do want you to know it did catch my attention when I was using Google Meets to read with Leadership Reads the other day. It's my hope that when all this is over, the leaders of the great state of North Carolina will take note of the great efforts by the teachers, counselors, support staff, and administrators throughout our great state to make, quote, a tough situation the very best it can be, end quote. Staff members, I want to thank you for keeping your students first in all that you've done so far this year, and I know you will continue to do that as we move forward into the rest of the school year. At this time, I'm going to pass out a schedule of events for the board members, and then I'm going to finish with some recognitions. As Mr. Cook mentioned, tonight is a different night as we are recognizing two individuals who've put a lot of time and energy into our school system. So this time I'd like to ask Mr. Lambeth if he would move to the front with Mr. Cook. Mr. Lambeth, I want to thank you for your leadership as a board member for this school system since 2008. Please know that I've always admired your high level of integrity and desire to do the right things for students and staff members at all times. Furthermore, I personally want to thank you for giving me the chance to lead this school system. So thank you, Mr. Lambeth. You will be missed, and we appreciate everything you've done for our Board of Education and for the kids at Randolph County School System. Thank you.
Go ahead. Thank you.
12 years ago, I came to the board. We had one of the highest dropout rates in the state of North Carolina. And that was, a couple of my close friends had dropped out, and that was my passion. I wanted to see that corrected. We got on the, when I came here, the board rallied behind that, and we got a really great program in place that now leads the state, 12 years on. We have one of the lowest dropout rates in the state. That was from the hard work of hundreds of people. Not by our board necessarily, but just a great group of people who have come up with a way to preserve these children and make sure that they have a safety net beyond what was there before. I came in with a little bit of a conservative bent toward education, thinking that a lot of what the current line is, that education is broken, but I think now I know that that is everything but the truth. We have world-class educators here in Randolph County, and I have come to respect it as probably the most noble profession there is. To take on such a tremendous amount of responsibility, to educate children from so many different backgrounds and paths is not for the weak at heart, for sure. I came in thinking that I knew everything, and I learned more here than I probably have anywhere. This place has been a part of my life for a third of my life. So it's going to be hard to leave. I'm glad to leave. I came in a very tumultuous time in 2008, 9, and 10. And I leave in a tumultuous time. I hope that's not saying anything. But I think that we are probably in the most responsible hands that this board has ever been in as far as our leadership here with my fellow board members, and I say especially with Dr. Gaines. Dr. Gaines, you are a consummate leader who really has the best interests of this school system at heart, and you do a fantastic job. And I hope this board allows you to stay as long as you want. So with that, I appreciate each and every one of you guys. You've made me feel like my opinions are respected here. And I know I haven't been everybody's friend at every time, but I never mince words.
I do want to say, you know, I go back further than anybody on this board. And, you know, starting out, I think we both had to grow on each other a little bit. But you know what? We came together and we realized we're here for the same thing, and both of us will fight for it. And it's only fitting tonight, if you look on the agenda, that we're going to talk about the dropout rate, where it's at. And I thought about that earlier. I said, because that was Matthew's passion. And I know he and I had to join together, 2 or 3 different occasions. And if we hadn't, we had to fight for some things. And that's probably my most special memories of you and I, because what people don't know, that it didn't happen in the boardroom. We had to have meetings later, and we basically went to bat for what was making our dropout rate decline, what was working. And if you and I hadn't done that, it would have probably fell through the cracks. It was going the other way. And that's great. Remember, I appreciate everything. I mean, you and I could write a book on some of the things that used to happen. And you know, you are leaving in a tough time, but the reasons are totally different. And you know, we can't help these times. But I appreciate everything, and it's been a pleasure to be. It's been 12 years with you on this board. I know I really meant that from the heart, man. You take care, buddy.
If you will come to the front. I, like many others, would like to thank you, Marty, for your leadership in many roles. I was looking at your different roles all throughout the years. I counted 27 years in Randolph. I don't know, I may be off, but I was counting the window, but it's still an incredible amount of time. And I hope I'm not inaccurate, but I may be. But the roles are, it's amazing just to watch the track that Marty took. Everybody respects you as a leader. However, more importantly, you are highly respected in this county and beyond its borders for being a great person. Without a doubt, the Randolph County school system is a better place due to the fact that you served as one of its leaders for the past 27 years. I'll tell you a story that a lot of people, I don't know if it means anything to you, but it means something to me. So when I was named, I think on April 2nd, 2013, right after that, the board said, well, any principal jobs that are open, you need to be involved. So I was taking time, coming half a day, once a week. We were interviewing. I had Marty, I had Todd, I had Kathy Brady. But before we got started, we were talking one night. I think we were all on the phone, and we all had, and this is the real one of the big pictures of Marty Trotter. So Kathy and I, I'm coming out of HR, she's still in HR. We're trying to figure out how we're going to exchange the resumes. You know, and I wanted to see the resumes, and we were just trying to figure out what was appropriate. And so all of a sudden Marty says, I'll give it to you. So I didn't know who he was. He walks in my office where I was. He drives an hour and 45 minutes, and we all know that is not a fun ride between here and Raleigh. It seems like it's shorter than it should be, but it takes longer than it also seems like it takes longer than it should. But he walked in, he had an armload of resumes for different principal positions. And you know, a lot of people probably would have sat down and talked and used that as an opportunity. That wasn't it. He gave them to me, he introduced himself, and he sent us a strong message that we'll get to know each other when you get to Randolph County, and I'm going to bring 2 other leadership team members with me. And that was a strong, strong message. A lot of people would have taken that opportunity maybe to make a step ahead, but not Marty Trotter. Marty was always respectful of his teammates, and I hope we've had a good leadership team as a result, as the respect among the teammates has existed throughout the years. But Marty, thank you. Thank you for all you've done. Thank you for your wisdom. It's been quite interesting to watch. A lot of people, they say they're going to retire and they start shutting down. Marty has been helping me for the last few weeks. Who better to train the people taking on his jobs than Marty Trotter? So Marty, congratulations on your retirement. Wish you well. Hope we see you. Marty's already told me I will not have his cell number. You have a different cell number, so I understand that one as well. So at this point, Marty, I'll let you, if you have some comments you'd like to make, and Mr. Cook, I'll let y'all have the floor.
I think when I told about the game, I guess it was back in March, looking at retiring, that I'd worked for 34 board members and 6 superintendents. And it seemed like each progression has just gotten better and better. I was blessed to be in the right place at the right time a whole lot of my career. And I told my kids where I live now, my grandparents' house is in front of me. And I said, one Sunday afternoon, I was walking into my grandparents for lunch, and I found out about the job at the Board of Ed. And, from there it's history. So I'm so thankful that I didn't turn that down and turn down that opportunity. It was something completely different than I was thinking about, but it worked out. Very well. I don't think it might be anything anyway. I've been in Randolph all but a year and a half. I spent a year and a half in Moore County, and I spent the rest of my time here in Randolph. And so it has been a pleasure. And Gary and I were just talking earlier. We've seen a lot. I think in my career here, we've built 13 schools, brand new schools. We renovated or added additions to 8 more. So we've seen a huge building program since all that happened back in 1992. As my kids say, back in the 1900s. So I appreciate the opportunities you guys are giving me, Gary. I guess I've worked with you the longest on this board. But Ms. Fall, I worked with your mom for several years, and just thought the world of her, and then Laverne Williams and several of them. By the way, Laverne chewed me out when I left and went to Moore County. So I did have to beg to come
She
back.
told me about that. She did.
So I do appreciate all the opportunities you give me, and the luxury of being a leader and doing it without, just someone. I felt like I could just do my job, and didn't feel like I had, people just critiquing everything I did. And so, was I always right? No. But I think along the way we did some pretty good things. So I appreciate the opportunity you give.
I do want to say a couple things. There's not a, I guess over the years of being on this board, there's not a better friend than Marty Trotter has been to me. And I can't even say this about Dr. Gainey. There has a couple people said something about you over the years. I have never heard a single person say anything bad about Marty Trotter. Now that's pretty good for all the years I've been on here, but I don't know how many times I picked up the phone to ask you questions, it's just so many good memories. And I was thinking about earlier today when I first came on this board, I would have never dreamed that I'm up here being the chair, but there was like, to me, they were legends. Their mom was just getting off, and like Laverne and Becky and all those Grady, Tommy McDonald, all those people when I first came on. And I'm thinking, you know, we had some good times, and everyone thought so highly of you. And, you know, you were so highly thought of. That's the reason our Senator Dave Craven is here tonight. Dave, would you come up, please? He has a little something for you. And actually, it was his idea because you're so well thought of for what you've done for Randolph County schools, and not just in Randolph County, but throughout the state. Dave, I'm going to step out of the way here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's an honor and privilege to be here with you this evening. And Marty, I want to thank you on behalf of the great state of North Carolina for your 29 years of service to the state, most of those being here in Randolph County, which we're very happy about. And I want to present to you a certificate of recognition from the North Carolina State Senate, recognizing your achievements over the last 29 years, and thank you again for your service to this state. Thank
So, Mr. Cook, just in closing, I will reiterate what I know a lot of us know. The Randolph County school system is losing two of the all-time good guys. All-time good guys out there. And to both of you, I can assure you that this superintendent spent 7+ years watching you and learning from you, and just admiring the great work both of you have done for our school system. So thank you, Mr. Cook. Thank you for giving us time on the agenda to recognize these two special individuals.
Thank you, Dr. Gandy. On a side note, you did, you will still be working with three of the great ones. Tracy, myself, and Sharon were re-elected. So just in case, I want you to feel good about something. Thank you so much. That was a joke. On my part, anyway. At this time, I need a motion to approve the October 19, 2020 minutes. Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we had no one to sign up for public comments tonight, so we'll move on to the adoption of the agenda. So I need a motion to approve the meeting agenda.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. At this time, we will move to the information items. Dr. Gandy's going to present. Looks like we've been fortunate to receive a few more gifts. We'll take gifts.
Okay, board members, we have several gifts tonight. All of them are information items because they're $5,000 or less per board policy 8220. In those situations, they're represented to you as information items. The first one, Kelly Harrell, principal of Liberty Elementary School on 11/6/2020, received a gift. Sent me an email. Liberty Advisor sent her a gift of $470 for recess equipment at her school. So I make you aware of that one tonight. Also another gift at Liberty Elementary School on 11/6/2020. Kelly Harrell of Liberty Elementary made me aware of a gift of $50 worth of water bottles from Liberty Lions Club to be used throughout the school. The next gift is for Northeastern Randolph Middle School. On October 22nd, received an email from Dan Albright Johnson, principal of Northeastern Randolph Middle School, regarding a gift from Swaim Electric in the amount of $500 to be used for FFA organization expenses such as activities, competitions, and meetings. The next gift is Randolph Elementary School. October 23, Ashley Barr, principal of Randolph Elementary School, made me aware of a $500 gift from Taisha Carter with Modern Woodmen America, and the gift was given to the school to be used to supply water bottles for wellness bags for students and staff members as part of Red Ribbon Week. The next gift, Randolph High School. Kathy Waddell sent me an email on October 19 regarding a gift, a donation from the Department of Computer Integrated Machine at Randolph Community College to Randolph High School. It's a Herrick 612 sander to be used in the metals program at the school, and the item has a value of $2,500. And then the final gift was really a grant, and we present gifts and grants in the same manner according to policy 8220. And that is from Justin Pugh, principal of Trenton Tabernacle Elementary School. He received a grant from Randolph County Farm Bureau in the amount of $481.50. The grant was entitled North Carolina Farm Bureau Ag in the Classroom Going Local Grant, and it's going to be used to upgrade and improve the school's garden in an effort to help students learn about gardening, especially through their STEM class. So, Mr. Cook, this concludes my presentation of gifts and grants, and now I think Kathy Waddell is coming in to present another grant.
Thank you, Dr. Gaines.
Good evening, school board members. Tonight, I'd like to present to you a grant that was given to New Market Elementary School. Dr. Larry Chappell, the Director of Instructional Support Services, Title II and Title V, prepared this document. New Market Elementary School will receive a Donors Choose grant in the amount of $542.15 on August 11th, 2020. The grant will be used to provide Media Center books that will allow students to participate in the North Carolina Children's Book Award program. Marina Bonamo, the media specialist, is responsible for submitting this request. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. And Ms. Haynes will be next to provide us teacher turnover results for 2019 and 2020. Come on in.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Gainey. I'm here tonight to present the teacher turnover results for the 2019-2020 school year. As you can see, Randolph County School System percentage was 13.57, and that is down from 13.90% in 2018 and 19. You also see the state average is at 12.54%. And that is up a little bit from last year when they were at 11.26%.
So basically, some of this would fall under when COVID started, right? Is that correct?
From March to March, yes.
So actually, with the turnover rate, that says, I mean, that's good.
Well, I mean, we went down, so that's a good thing.
Right.
And we hope
I
we
mean, I was
continue.
thinking it may be going the other way. That's
When you look at the categories of what counts as turnover, it can be turnover if you hire somebody, if you have a part-time position, you hire them and they don't come back next year because you don't have a part-time position, it counts. And just like the retirement count as turnover, if you look at that list of the different reasons, I would guess right now, retirement, full benefits, that's our second highest, and let's see where it was last year. Last year was our third highest, but not by much. It was within 3 percentage points of being second highest last year. I don't know why they picked March to March. I've never understood that. I don't know but that's been in place for years, probably, I'd say at least 10 years since I've been going to be a principal for a while. Left in 2009, and that was in place then as well.
Is there any idea where we're at for this year coming up, as far as our numbers? Because obviously everybody wants to know about the elephant in the room. How are we doing now as far as retaining and keeping?
Well, I can tell you this, I went back after Mr. Burgess asked the question at the last board meeting, and I went back and looked at what our mid-year retirements were going to look like, and how many that I could truly attribute to COVID reasons, and there was actually fewer than what I thought. Now, maybe some people haven't necessarily shared those reasons, but like I said, the ones that I know of were actually fewer than I thought.
That's good. I mean, we know it's a battle. We know it's a battle. That's good. People's hanging in there. That's awesome.
You know, that's the one thing I know. Mr. Burgess and myself were having a conversation about a week ago, and I was telling him one of the polling places that I worked at on election day, the 4 teachers came up, and I didn't know, you know, they said, you know, I'm a teacher, and actually they said, I appreciate you saying good things or thinking about, trying to saying thank you, and I think it's important that we all, that's 2 of the easiest words you can say is thank you. And I always, if it's someone in the military or serving, I always find myself, thank you for your service, but now I find it easier to say that to a teacher because they've had a tough time, and I mean, maybe people try to sell them a little short, like they always do, but I'm telling you, the last several months, and I know trying to keep kids in school and shuffling back with a remote and all, it's not an easy task. And this board, we all appreciate everything you guys are doing, and I know when we moved to the 4 days, and one thing I don't think, COVID, the cases are getting worse, but it doesn't really seem to be the 4-day causing it. I mean, to me, I don't think it started before you could have had any effect on that. But anyway, we're all in this together, and I know when we're talking about teacher turnover and stuff, and it's not really a great time, but I wanted, if I could ask you a question, Elizabeth, may not be the right time, but I've had some questions, and I've maybe cleared up. I think Fred had too, but from a legal, I guess a legal side, we have like kids going 4 days a week, and I know we have some students like with the special needs and all, to service them, they're going 5 days a week. How does that work? I guess from a legal standpoint.
Yeah, sure. So all kids are going 5 days a week. They're receiving instruction 5 days a week. It's just for non-EC students, that 5th day is being done remotely. Well, EC students have a different set of challenges, and so them being able to access their education is not really possible in some circumstances, depending on their particular challenges. And so it's not a comparable experience for them to be able to access their educational program that they're entitled to by federal law remotely. Does that answer your question?
Our high schools have been going EC 5 days.
I mean, I've had some, that question, they go 5 days, and I really didn't know the answer, and I didn't know if that's something you'd look at then, but I understand the answer, that's why I asked it. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, so they have a particular, every student has an educational program, right, that they're receiving. But students with particular challenges can't access that remotely. So they need to be present in order to, they need to be face-to-face. But all students are going to school 5 days a week. It's just some of the days are remote. And for some students, that's just not possible under our obligations under federal law.
Okay. I just wasn't sure how that worked. But once again, that's a,
So how did we get away with that that's the right word, maybe it's not the right wording, but early in the beginning of the school year, when they were going 2 days a week, I guess, as far as in person.
Well, the school system has done absolutely the best that it can in providing special education services and accommodating every student's needs. Obviously, there have been times since March where that has been more difficult.
And Mr. Burgess, one of the, early on, getting things settled in, if my memory serves me correctly, we started the 5-day week on September 14th, so that was pretty, we just felt like we needed enough time to get things settled, so I guess that window of time would always be up for debate, but, it could be, but we were hoping we could get September 14, and it's been a very smooth transition, seems like.
Do we have different, I know we're going down this rabbit hole with it, but do we have different equipment and things for EC teachers and things like that? We do have different, because I haven't been in the classroom obviously, but some of those kids, there's no social distancing possible there. So they do have, I guess, speak on that, maybe what they have.
They do, and I guess it would probably depend a little more specifically about what you're asking, but the bottom line is whatever the child needs.
Yeah, I didn't know as far as we supply, I know we weren't doing like the head shields, but we supply the EC teachers, we're more equipment.
If they needed something, we had an accommodations process in place that all they had to do was fill out that accommodations request, and we looked at that and made a determination as to what we could provide for them.
That's good. Like I said, we just not being in the classroom with them, obviously, we can't go to you on. So that's good because, there's not going to be social distancing with some folks just because of their situation. Go ahead.
On the November 58, or Code 58, for other school system, other LEAs, do we keep up with any of that, for example, if there's a change in address or anything like that? So what percentage of those actually change the address to go to the system if they stay where they were?
To my knowledge, we've never kept up with their address, whether there's been a change in address or not.
Well, that would be interesting if they switch states or
Well, yeah, just
cities.
if you move, but if you say I'm staying right where I am, I'm going to a different school system. We have 55 of those that were concerned, if it was normal, whatever the normal is,
No, we've never kept up with changing address, and obviously if they're moving out of state, we get information from the district that they're going to, if they make a request, and we know that. If there's a change in address there. Any other questions on the teacher turnover report? You have two documents, one with the reasons that Mr. Burgess was just referencing, and then the other one is turnover by school.
Thank you. I'm sorry to get a little off track. I just was curious about, thanks Elizabeth for that.
Thank you.
Next up is Marty Trotter. Talk about, Anthony, we're going to talk about the dropout.
All right, Matthew, when I put this together, I didn't realize that this was necessarily going to be your last meeting, so I'm so glad that this is on the agenda tonight. Tonight I bring to you the 2018-2019 dropout data, and that is the latest that the state has reported at this time. So the top section there gives you 5 years of data to compare, and so for this last reported year, 18-19, the Randolph County School System grades 7 through 13 dropout was 0.91. The state average was 1.36, so again, we're well below that, and as you can see, all the other years of history there, the data shows that we've been below the state average along the way. This middle section there is a breakdown of the 70 individuals that actually dropped out, and then at the very bottom is a breakdown by the high school. Again, 70 of those individuals.
What is 70 the lowest number we've ever gotten to?
It's the lowest since I've been reporting it. I'm not sure if it's, the lowest, but I know since the last 13 years, it's the lowest that I've seen anyway.
You know, one thing, I wouldn't feel right if I didn't mention, when we're talking about, I guess, historical or legend board members, when I first came on, I forgot about Paul Guthrie. And Paul Guthrie was a teacher at Trinity High School for a number of years. And anyway, I remember the board meeting when the dropout rate, I mean, it was so high. I think that year, going back, we had 405, something to that, to drop out. And I guess that's like 2006 or so, I'm not sure exactly.
3.91%.
Yeah, 405 I think was one of the highest numbers. But anyway, you know, the board meeting that night, we were discussing Trinity High School had such a low rate compared to the rest of the county. And Paul had worked at Trinity, so he said, hey, we got a great girl. And it was Kim Wagner. She's still with us today, but we brought her to the central office and, you know, working with, that's kind of how it started. And, you know, the program just kind of used the same techniques that worked at Trinity, but that's how we got started. And I think everybody kind of joined together, but it caught on, and it's really something to be proud of from where I mean, it was unreal how high it was, and we had to dropout prevention people that try to help keep kids in school, and that's one of the things we were talking about earlier tonight, Matthew. But anyway, I forgot to mention Paul, but the dropout, I wouldn't feel right if I didn't mention his name too, because he was just as strong as you were on that. You know, that was a passion of his, and when that number started to fall, he was tickled to death.
Thank you.
Are you going to be back any more tonight, Marty, or is this, you were, okay, just want to make sure. So at this time, I need a motion to approve the consent items.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, then we're turn it over to Dr. Gainey.
Okay, board members, I bring to you tonight another gift. It's an action item because for board policy 8220, if a gift exceeds $5,000, it requires action of the board to accept this gift. Eric Johnson made me aware of this on November 12. The gift is from Robert Hales with Hales and Associates in the amount of $32,800, and it's to put a roof over the school's batting cage in the baseball stadium. So I bring that tonight to you as a action item for approval.
So at this time, I need a motion to approve the gift of Wheatmore High School from Robert Hales from Hales and Associates in the amount of $32,800.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now we'll move on to curriculum and instruction with Ms. Waddell.
Tonight I bring before you two action items from curriculum and instruction. The first one deals with the preliminary plans for improvement for Franklinville Elementary, Liberty Elementary, Southeastern Randolph Middle School, and Yuari 612. The plans were submitted for you for board review on October 19th. These plans have been posted on the district website, and we have received no feedback or comments as of today. The four preliminary plans remain the same as originally presented to the board on October 19th, 2020.
That motion will be made later.
You know, if a motion can be made after closed session tonight, so
Okay.
we can go on into the next 27 if there's no questions about those.
The next item I have for you for action is the continuous school improvement plans that were developed following a comprehensive needs assessment that started in February 5th to be exact, 2020. The 2021 plans were revised by the school improvement teams to reflect the current data that they have available. The school improvement template was provided through NC STAR, which is an electronic platform that we've been using for several years. The separate Safe Schools plan that was part of the continuous improvement plan was presented will be presented in closed session tonight. The school improvement plans for the 4 schools, Franklinville, Liberty, Southeastern, Randolph Middle, and Yuari, were presented for you upon initial review in October.
A question. Yuari Ridge, we know for the last several years, has been low performing. Is there anything, I know all the grades get counted together since it's one school. Is there any way we could break that into, just for our knowledge, seeing if the middle school is improving a little bit, or what's, these kids are in high school now, have they improved any since we got 4 years of high school? Or them kids who were in the middle school, when we started the high school, they just, you understand what I'm
I
trying to say?
do. And once the whole campus gets under one school number, so that's how the state will look at it. They won't
Right.
split it apart. That's, because if we split it apart, then we would also be back, we'd have access to, with a second school number, access to another principal position, which I'm not sure the state would grant us. If we pulled it back apart as 2 schools, we'd have to have two school numbers.
But what I'm saying is, any way we could
See how the different levels are doing.
see the different levels between the high school and the middle school.
We can get with
Well, actually
Beth and see what she can pull apart, see if she can pull that apart by grades. Especially now
That way
we've
we can
got-
see these kids who were in middle school before the high school started, we know Yuari Ridge was low performing then.
Yeah,
And see if that trend is still staying with them while they're in high school.
yeah.
You know, if they're went up and our middle school's still down here, you know, there's more issues we gotta look at in the middle school level.
When a couple of years ago, Mr. Bull, was one of the big focuses, and the unfortunate thing about the pandemic was we had several things moving forward there, including math was a big issue that we were working on, and this pandemic has really put a big obstacle in the middle of all the schools. But we can look in with Beth Davis and see what we can determine.
Yeah, but I mean, because we've seen over the last couple of years, like Southeast Randolph, it has had growth and stuff, and, you know, just want to see where each one of them's at. I mean, we know they're improving, but I was just wondering if, because you got a combination there, is one level of the school is catching up or whatever.
We will look at that.
Thanks, Kathy. Okay, Marty, yes.
Okay, board members, the next item on the agenda is the recommendation to approve the 2022-2023 school calendar, and that will be as a first reading. The calendar committee met on October the 14th and developed the draft as you see it tonight. The calendar includes 180 student days, 14 teacher work days, 11 holidays, and 10 annual leave days, which make a total of 215 days as required by the calendar guidelines. It also includes a makeup plan there at the bottom that's similar to the current school year. Just a reminder that the current law for school calendar is 185 days, 4,025 hours, and we base our calendar on the number of hours. We cannot open any earlier than Monday, closest to August 26th, or close any later than the Friday closest to June the 11th. So on the actual calendar draft, I'll just walk through it real quick for you. The first day for teachers back will be on Thursday, the 18th of August. First day for students would be Monday, the 29th. There's a holiday there in September. And then moving down to October, the 31st will be the end of first quarter, and then November 1st, will be the first day of second quarter. Friday, the 4th of November, will be the work day between the two quarters. Friday, the 11th, is a holiday for Veterans Day. Wednesday, the 23rd, is an annual leave day prior to Thanksgiving, and then two holidays on the 24th and 25th. Moving down to December, December 20th will be an early release day, and then the 21st, 22nd, 28th, 29th, and 30th would all be annual leave days, with the 23rd, 26th, and 27th being holidays. Moving to January, the 2nd would be a holiday for New Year's. The 16th would be a holiday for Martin Luther King. And then the second quarter, first semester would end on Friday, January the 20th. There's two work days on Monday the 23rd and the 24th. And then second semester, third quarter, would start on Wednesday the 25th. Moving down to March, the 29th would be the end of third quarter, and the 30th would be the first day of fourth quarter. April 3rd through the 6th are annual leave days for spring break. The 7th would be a holiday, and then on the 10th would be the work day for the quarter break between third and fourth quarter. That also is the Monday after Easter, so we put that there. May 29th is a holiday for Memorial Day, and then the last day for students, also an early release day, would be on Friday, June the 9th, and then followed by 3 teacher work days on the 12th, 13th, and 14th.
Any questions? Just need a motion for the first reading. Okay.
So there was any interest in, for us, I know the last couple of years in September and October, we've had a half days and stuff like that, early release days. Am I missing that?
We did not put any at this point. Now, once it sits out on the website for some public comments, and then we can make adjustments after that. So the second reading could certainly include something like that. The committee didn't even discuss that, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I noticed Sharon had been on it last couple to maybe 2 or 3 years. We had Mr. Biggs on it this time. You guys have any trouble out of him on the calendar committee? It don't work out.
No, we were able to meet the full hour and not have
We
to.
all know how to work the computer.
Oh, good. I was thinking, Fred, if there was any issues, it may have been Mr. Biggs' fault.
We got plenty of days.
Thank you for serving on that. I know Sharon thanks you. So at this time, we need a motion to approve the first reading of the 2022-2023 school calendar.
So,
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is a recommendation to approve a facility improvement at Wheatmore High School. The principal at Wheatmore High School has requested approval to make improvements to the baseball softball field area by constructing a 38-foot by 78-foot covered batting cage. The Wheatmore High School athletic program will be responsible for the funding of this project through a donor. I think Dr. Gainey just gave an approval on that as a gift prior to this agenda item. Behind the memo, you'll see the estimate for the project, $32,800. And then behind that is just a sketch of the covered area. It will be 38 feet by 78 feet. And that description is just the trusses will be 24-inch on the center. And then finally, we've got the engineered stamp for the trusses that'll be in the roof area.
Okay, any questions? So need a motion to approve the facility improvements at Wheatmore High School.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And real quickly, while we're talking about high school, I meant to mention, thank you guys earlier. I think a lot of people probably don't know this, but with sports starting up tomorrow night, actually. But with us not being able to have, I don't know if we're gonna have fans, maybe live stream exactly. I know what you're working on, and maybe we can touch on that. But I wanted to thank you guys, your office, Dr. Gainey and Edwina, Miss Ashworth. You guys worked on a plan. You know, high schools and all, they use the gate to pay for referees and traveling to games and transport, you know, all this activity buses. And there's a big hole there this year. And I'm thinking, was it like 50,000 for each? I may be wrong. I'm not sure what it was for each school, but I think that's a big help that you guys were able to take that hit away from the high schools. And you might want to touch on it in a second, but I think it's important that people know the extra effort that was put forth.
Yeah, Mr. Cook, to follow up on that, thank you. You know, I've been a high school principal and I've been a middle school principal, and I understand what the costs are of athletics right out the door. You can't have an event without the officials. And I also understand the value of ticket sales and how they will be hit this year. The limit of fans in the inside event will be 25, and the limit of outside will be 100. So that will eat into revenue real quick. So what we did was we went across middle school and high schools to see what the cost would be for officials for both levels all year long. And we did tell the principals at middle school and high school level and the athletic directors that we'd be covering that. I want to say a high school came out to be about $20,000 when you put varsity events and JV events. Did not think we should fund one, not the other, if we could help that. And we did also, if I remember right, reduce the per mile rate on activity buses for athletics. I want to say it was from $1.50 to $1 per mile for athletics only. So that should help some. We're going to continue to look. We are working now with the board attorney to work on a live streaming option, but we have to make sure that is handled appropriately with all the protections that our kids need and deserve before we can put that in place. So we're working on that now. Elizabeth Troutman is working on that right now. So we are very happy to do that. And again, a lot of people don't realize, I can tell you, I haven't forgot this number, and I've been gone from the high school principalship for 11 years. It cost me $1,200 to host a varsity football game. That's where it started. The cost to have the game between referees, referees and security and all that was $1,200 right off the bat. So if you didn't get $1,200 in ticket sales, you were already going in the hole. So understand that, and glad we were able to do that for the high schools and middle schools. So we'll continue to push forward.
I hope the ADs and principals appreciated that. That's a big deal. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Cook, board members, the next thing I have tonight is student assignment. I want to go back to something we talked about in the work session. Just want to make sure everybody's aware of where we are with student assignment for Trinity Middle School. What we're going to do is no later than March 15, we will make sure students know where they're headed to in middle school, and we will look back at the 6th graders at Braxton Craven. We will send them to Trinity Middle. If their high school destination is Trinity High, we'll send them to Wheatmore Middle. If their destination in high school is Wheatmore High School, that's already set. The children in elementary school are already on a path to Trinity High or Wheatmore High in the AT zone. So we'll look at the 6th graders at Braxton. The 7th graders are still Trinity Middle. We'll look at the 5th graders at Archdale Elementary, Hopewell Elementary, John Lawrence, Trindale, and Trinity Elementary Schools. And then we will notify parents of their assignment no later than March 15. And we will go ahead and put this feeder pattern in place. That is something that's been needed in that zone for a long time. And if there's any variance from that, somebody would have to follow the student assignment rules just like at any other school. But we just feel like we need to go ahead and there will not be any grandfathering factor applied to this. We will go ahead because we just need to get on with this make sure Trinity Middle School is filled as well. And remember that come August, Archdale Trinity Middle will be named Wheatmore Middle School. And it is up to be painted this year, so the colors at the Archdale Trinity Middle School campus will be adjusted to be appropriate for Wheatmore Middle School. So I bring that to you tonight because we will start working on that in the next few weeks, months to get ready for the March 15 notification.
Hey, if there's anybody out there that believes the middle school's not being built, you should ride down Surratt Drive, and depending on which way you're coming, but if you'll turn in between like the builder's fireplace and one of those warehouses, there's a sign out there. If you ride down, I think the road's paved now, but if you ride down and you turn the curve, you're going to see an amazing sight. You will be completely shocked at just how that thing is coming out of the ground. I rode down last Sunday, and I mean, I guess because you don't ride by it every day and it's not right on the road, you don't think about, you just don't notice it. But so when you make a special trip to ride down, you think, oh my gosh, I mean, those people are really going to town with that school. It's amazing. It's really cool. It's a beautiful facility. Anyway, I need a motion to approve the student assignment plan for Trinity Middle School.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Okay, board members, the next item, you probably saw this over the weekend and thought this was a little unusual. This is a result of the pandemic, what's going on here, and Mr. Burgess, your comment about the early release day is what's causing why this item is on the agenda. We are going to apply to test outside the testing window, and that gets me excited, but you can't do it so much with that. We're going to apply to test outside the testing window, and for the week we get out right before the December holiday break, and we're going to move state EOC test or state CTE test there. And so we want to test the week of the 14th through the 18th, and here's what compounds the problem a little bit. We're going to be able to do 2 CTE tests a day, but remember the high schools are on A-Day, B-Day. So an A-Day student in high school could take, we would have 2 on Monday, 2 on Tuesday for A students. Then we've got to have the same thing for B-Day students. But we really can't use Friday because Friday is a 2-hour early release and we won't have enough time in the day. So what we really need to do is move the remote day for that week, move the remote day from Wednesday to Friday, and make Wednesday a complete day for the B-Day kids. So we can have a whole school day. So that week for high school, and we want to do it all levels so there won't be confusion among families. That week we would do A-Day kids, Monday, Tuesday, B-Day kids, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday would be the remote day for that week. Okay, and it also will be a 2-hour early release day. So we'd have, if we had anybody had a CTE state test that need to make up, they could make it up on Friday, but surely hopefully they wouldn't have 2 to make up because there won't be enough time on that early release day. So that's what this item's about. I will broadcast it. I know one of the things that this board's always wanted to make sure we got the information out as soon as possible. And I don't want to, my first thought when Kathy and staff were talking about it was we just do it for high school. But we've all become, with every week I learn more about, there may be cases where the high school child is the supervision of the elementary and middle school kid on a day that they're remote. So I would just like to move it all, that week, move the remote day from Wednesday to Friday, and the B-Day students, Friday, all day would be on Wednesday. And we obviously would do that. Middle school B-Day kids would go AA, BB, and be remote. So that's what I bring to you today, if I'll answer any questions you have.
So how do you test, well, in this situation, especially, just total 100% remote kids?
I was just bringing Kathy in.
All right.
So go ahead. We're going to bring the 100% remote kids to campus.
Okay.
And see there, I was shaking my head because you just made me remember something.
Okay.
We've got to make sure we have enough room on campus to be safe. Remember, we have these limits on what can be on the high school campuses. So we've got to keep it the A-Day, B-Day amount. See, every child should have been assigned to A or B Day, even whether they went remote or not. So there, when you started that, Ms. Burns, you triggered that I didn't mention that. We're still held by these capacities on these campuses, so we just can't say, well, we'll take all the remote kids in on Wednesday and get all that taken care of. We can't have too many kids on campus.
So, and whenever you're doing the other EOCs, whatever.
Well,
how we can do that?
Well, there's an issue. I didn't, this weekend I got to reading some more stuff that Kathy had sent me, and I was going to ask Elizabeth, we can bring that one back next board meeting, but really the week of exams, that's the full-fledged week of state EOC testing, would be, January 11th through 15. We really need to do the same thing. So we have one makeup day at the end of the week. Otherwise, we'd have makeup day for A-Day kids at the high school level on Wednesday, and the makeup day for B-Day kids would wrap into the next semester. We don't want to do that. So, Elizabeth, I know the board agenda item only speaks to this week. Could the board, if they were so inclined, vote on both weeks tonight, or do I need to bring that back to December?
Yeah, the board could vote on both weeks tonight. I mean, this is an administrative change that doesn't really deviate from the board's approved calendar for how we're going to operate schools. And so, a board vote is not absolutely required in these circumstances. But if you all want to weigh in and vote, I think voting on both is appropriate at this time.
Dr. Gainey.
Yes, sir.
I guess this is for you, Kathy, more. Have you, everything we do, we're always doing what we think is best. But did you talk to some staff? Because there's always nuances and things that we think sounds good in this room, and then putting it actually out there, and you spoke to some people kind of how they're going to implement this. Is it going to affect their day, or how's that going to work with teachers and administrators?
Team of curriculum directors and transportation
Yeah.
and the testing coordinator for the district sat down and looked at this plan along with Misty Wolf from CTE to determine what we thought would work best in terms of what we could do for transportation. We looked at the numbers of students that needed to be accommodated in a building and the sections that needed to be made in order to test in the largest school and in the smallest school. So we pulled all that data together. We thought about how many people it would take to test based on the number of people on the staff. So we put all those pieces together to come up with this plan. While we didn't bring in a teacher or a principal, we did do that legwork, that, just that flushing out of all of those pieces to make a consideration to bring to Dr. Gainey.
Yeah, it doesn't sound negative to me, but I know throughout this code, there's always, when it comes to the classroom, it sounds better than when you put it in the classroom. It gets harder.
We're also held to state rules with all this testing. There's not a whole lot of different things we can do, because we have, like for instance, we're applying right now to test out the window for CTE. We don't have flexibility to just do testing anyway per our state testing things. And this is quite frankly how we always handle the exam setup as we head into the end of a semester at high school level.
Yeah, and it sounds good. I mean, it sounds good. I'm just,
Does,
what things,
does state or y'all have, say you know you're gonna test that ABB. First day of A, got a COVID case at a school. You got 10 kids quarantined in 14 days. How would the test fall out then?
Well, we'll have to see what the state, what flexibility they give us, because we don't, I mean, that's very likely a situation. It could cancel a whole testing session, or it could lead to a school being put on remote for 14 days. So I hope they're thinking of what flexibility they can give us if that occurs, because we're gonna need it. Hopefully we won't, but I would not be shocked if we don't need it somewhere among the 6 traditional high schools.
and we're
Yeah,
going
the
to test.
requirements to stay out of school are state mandated requirements also when somebody's been exposed, so, the state's gonna have to resolve that question for us.
Mr. Bowles, we've built a makeup time into both of these schedules, and we know that for EOCs, we could potentially test into second semester. That's not ideal, but we could do that.
Well, that's the reason I asked, because I know Dr. Gaines said you really want to test into the second semester.
And you want to make sure we all do it, we want to do it in person, right? And I think that's
Have to.
important, because it's not going to be fair to those kids that do it in person, the kids that do it at home.
Well, we're not gonna be able to do any state testing remotely.
Yeah.
In fact, we brought in a couple weeks ago, on a Wednesday, we brought in every PSAT students at every high school, and we did the PSAT on every high school campus. We didn't do that remotely either. So doing EOCs and CTE state tests is not an option. Remote administration is not an option.
That's good.
I mean, me, it's gonna be a thing to see, come up next year, see how the state's gonna hold the school systems live
Yes.
while this remote learning, where we know the kids are not getting the level they need, where they gonna hold us liable, underperforming, low growth and all that.
Well, they announced pretty early too, Mr. Bowles, which was as everybody's trying to get school going and trying to figure out how they can get face-to-face instruction going in different ways. It was announced that testing would be in play this year, and so I think that will be a concern. But there are some things from the federal government that the state can't stop with testing, and that's where the announcements came from. The announcement came from out of the federal government that testing would be in place this year. So I'm hearing there's some debate going on now. I don't think the debate will be resolved before we get past the end of first semester. It'll go on into the spring, and I think it'll have a lot to do with what happens as we continue through the school year, whether school systems that are not doing 100% remote can stay in school, and then I think there'll be a lot of additional decisions made as the spring comes through.
In all fairness, I hope they are, they should be. Let's hope they make it.
So, many of us have heard a lot of reports of students at different levels, but all in different schools, as far as not doing well, as far as if we had to give a final grade for the semester today, that many students would not pass. I'm assuming that it is a higher number than what we're used to experiencing, what we're used to. So do you see, well, I mean, how do you see us having to do, not just us, as Randolph County Schools, but the state of North Carolina, how are we going to address that? How are we going to deal with that as far as from the DPI, or state level, or wherever?
Well, to begin with, I think this country and this state needs to understand that every passing day academic deficits are mounting on children. And until the country's willing to accept that, and the state's willing to accept that, and we're allowed to do some things that might have to be creative and outside the box to catch children up, we're going to run into this. And I am very concerned about, we're coming on, Ms. Farlow, you said it a couple of meetings ago, and I can't remember the window of time you put on it, but you said the children are already X months behind now. We were talking about when we were working on what we were going to do. So, Mr. Burgess, we're going to have to look for ways to provide additional intervention, remediation, but it's not even just remediation intervention. There are children who didn't get a whole lot of the fourth quarter of math last year, and I'm a former high school math teacher, and that is sequential, and that doesn't take away from any other subject area. But there are children who missed that fourth quarter in many ways, how deep it would have taken them to get ready for the next course. You can't make that up with remediation and intervention. You've got to have time. You've got to have time. So there, to me, I hope that we can get to a point where maybe some creative options exist for what serves as a credit towards graduation, which may mean, I'll tell you what I did as a high school principal. I had some at-risk students, and they took biology and they took civics economics together, same semester. I took one of their electives, or one of the other periods and made an elective. And I pre-taught, had people pre-teach what they were going to see in geometry and civics economics. We're going to have the flexibility, and we're also going to have to know how to handle that flexibility and not use it to our advantage other than to the advantage of kids as far as the academic replenishment of the deficits that are there. So I think there's more to come there, Mr. Burgess, but you are right on there. You can't make believe that you didn't miss a lot of first grade. I know a little girl at the coast who missed 50 days of kindergarten because of hurricanes. And then her first grade year going along, and then you know what happened to her first grade year about March. So now after 2 years of school, kindergarten, first grade, even though she has 2 educators in her house as parents, there's still that learning from someone else that's so valuable. So to ask me to say, I could talk, my concerns for this are bigger than tonight. It's bigger than we have time to talk about, because I've seen students, particularly in the math area, I've seen where they had just, that last quarter of the year really hurt. And we're going to have to figure out how do we catch that up.
So where does that decision come from? Does it come from our state legislators? Does it come from EPI, the federal level, or where does that?
We're going to need some legislation to help.
But I think to help answer your question, we know that there will be deficits. So right now we're looking at the data that shows us where the deficits are. And we're having conversations about what do we do to make sure that we can fill some of these holes and gaps. So we're not sitting waiting for legislators to tell us something. We are actively having conversations. So we are actively having conversations about what's next, because we can't wait. We know that students are going to need a lot of help. How do we provide that help? Where does the funding come from? What does that help look like? So those are the things that we are actively doing right now.
I mean, that's the thing on the state legislation part, DPI. They got to look at it. I'm talking outside of Randolph County School System. We're talking about all these. We're sitting here with 4 low-performing schools. And you're probably talking the next 2 to 3 years, each school system's probably going to see their low-performing school numbers grow. Because, let's be realistic. Virtual is not sitting in the classroom and learning. And if you got these schools who are not low performing, but on the brink, and with the COVID, it's going to hurt school systems all around North Carolina. And that's where the legislation is going to look at these things, because they want to see the possibility of low performing schools in the next 2 to 3 years grow in North Carolina. Nothing the school systems have done, nothing anybody has done, is just COVID. So, in-person and virtual teaching are 2 different animals. You talk to parents, you talk to kids, they'll tell you. And I got friends that their kids cannot learn at home like they can sitting in class where they don't have the structure. And that's where we're going to have to be at. That's where we could be at in 2 or 3 years. Instead of seeing our local women's schools dropping, we can see them actually rising. No cause of us, but just in the nature.
I think there's going to be a lot of, and this is where you're going to see the skill set of teachers. Because when the teachers get those kids back with them, you're going to see why everybody can't teach. Because the teachers, their skill set, they're going to pick up on where the reteaching is, and you're going to see a lot of reteaching. And I'm saying reteaching, I don't mean that in a negative, I mean that in a very positive. You're going to see a lot of differentiation. I think you'll see the skills of the teachers come out big time, because you'll see a lot of differentiation. They'll be helping us with their assessments in those classrooms. And I'm not talking about an assessment of a formal test. I'm talking about an assessment from that conversation they're having about this topic or this concept. That's what's going to really come into play. But never having worked in an elementary school, and the opportunities I've had from these elementary teachers in this system and principals to see what's going on in those classrooms, we've got a lot of work to do at all levels. It's going to be a struggle.
I'm going to tell you, for a board member, I've heard you be passionate, but I've never heard you more passionate, and I appreciate it. I mean, you're right on.
Well,
that's what we've been afraid of the whole time, is falling behind.
Mr. Burgess, the other thing that worries me immensely about our kids is this. One of the things I enjoyed I love school. I think I'd still be in school. I mean, I love school. I love the university setting. And but one of the things I think I love the most about school, and I found value in school, and I believe it really helps children, is you leave your home and you're used to being around your family, and you're used to but you learn how to interact and learn from other people, and that's what we're missing right now. We're not getting these children now. They miss, they're not getting to interact with that teacher, a different teacher this year, and a different teachers all over their campus, and that's why we've got to get back as soon as we can safely to more, because and our teachers. If you talk to teachers, you'll find out why they're in it. In our heartbeat, because it's all about taking kids from where they are, not only academically, but there's nothing more fun than to watch that 9th grader go from being a 9th grader to a 12th grader, and think about where they were as a 9th grader and look at them where they're a 12th grader.
I think a lot of this, and I see Senator Craven, you could have easily left early in this meeting. I appreciate you staying, because some of the things you've heard tonight, if I wasn't on the board, I wouldn't have a clue that the impact and what's going on. And I'm sure you've learned a few things tonight too that'll help. But once again, so many things that we have faced in the last, and I mean during the pandemic, but it's a fallout from our governor, and I hope he listens as well, because a lot of the things that's happened, decisions that legislators, they weren't in session, they had really not a whole lot of input on it. But I hope he can realize too the situations like he said, you could send elementary kids back 4 days a week or 5 days a week or whatever, 5 days actually, and kind of put us in a situation to move quick without a real plan. We had to work through that. Some systems are still not back. We're just now starting back. And they're starting back, at least we have 64 days, 63, but I mean, they're starting back at really a tough time. I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, their back is big time against the wall with the cases and all, and we're doing all we can to stay open, but he helped create a lot of this. I know there's no easy solution on that, but I hope he works with you guys, and it's going to take a team effort to fix this, but appreciate you hanging around tonight and listening, and good luck. We all need it. When we make this motion, do you want me to add the days for January?
Yeah, I was gonna include that. So on the end, of that motion, on the end of the motion, to remove the remote instruction day from 12/16 to 12/18 for the week of 12/14 to 12/18, and 1/13/21 to 1/15/21 for the week of 1/11/21 to 1/15/21. Okay, does that make sense?
Say that 111,
For the week of 1/11/21 to 1/15/21. So essentially what we're doing, board members, is those 2 weeks, we're putting a remote day for everybody, and we'll do that for all grade levels, so that all the school levels are together, even though the middle and elementary won't be. So add that on the end. This is for all grade, for all levels of school, Mr. Cook.
okay,
And we'll get this out to the parents and make sure everybody knows that on these 2 weeks, we're simply taking the remote day and putting it on Friday. And that sets up an exam makeup day in January very well for kids who have an exam makeup issue.
so is it 113 to 115 or 113?
Yeah, we're moving 1/13 to 1/15, that's moving the Wednesday,
Gotcha,
and then, but this is for all levels of school.
okay. Okay, so we need a motion to move the remote instruction day from 12/16/20 to 12/18/20 for the week of 12/14/20 to 12/18/20.
Gary, can I say something just to say
Sure.
before you do that? Just primarily today, whenever all this federal funding dries up, and you know it will eventually, Sharon and I were talking about this the other night. And I don't want to inspire fear in anybody's heart, but that's how it went last time, and that's probably how it'll go this time. We were faced with some really tough decisions, all boards across the state were, of cuts that we had to make. If that same fate is met again, please implore your colleagues to give boards of education the autonomy to make their own decisions about funding. One thing the Republicans have done that has been a huge mistake in the state is restricting how money is spent. Whereas before, that was not, school systems had we had specific line items of where money had to be spent, but we had a ton of more flexibility in my first 4 years than we have in the last 8 years. And that flexibility saved us. And it will save a future board. Just some.
Okay. So, let me start. Okay. And it was, the rest of it was 1/13/21 through 1/15/21, for 1/11/21 to 1/15/21. That's not just for high school, that's for the whole school system. And good luck on advertising that. You'll have to advertise that quite a bit.
The 18th does remain still as an early, I know it's removed.
Yes,
but it's still
yes.
early
It'll still be early dismissal.
Okay.
We just didn't have enough time to put 2 exams in the same day.
So we have a sub move, how about a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy, for putting that together.
I guess this is, you know what I'm thinking before we go into closed session? I meant to mention to Marty, maybe, everybody's used to Marty calling at 5:30 in the morning. They all look forward to Marty's call. I mean, guess we'll have someone new making that call, but maybe next week Marty can.
Parents will say, I don't believe these.
No, you're not Marty, it's no, it's fake news, fake news. Maybe Marty can call you for a couple of weeks at 5:30.
The guy in the back.
Oh, right there, okay, there's
Or-
another new
Bill
guy.
Brinkley will be the guy that wakes up the
You're listening
world.
at 5:30, look for a call
Sound is
from Dale Brinkley.
cheaper
If
as
Dale,
he
on the
does.
calls, everybody tells them that now the remote day is.
That is, this is, Dale will be your new phone guy. And congratulations on that.
Thank you very
We
much.
look forward to working with you too.
I appreciate it.
Okay, so Yes.
I move that the Randolph County Board of Education will enter into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute to preserve the attorney-client privilege to discuss confidential personnel matters protected by North Carolina General Statute and to discuss plans to protect school and public safety specifically provided in state statute.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're now in closed Okay. I need a motion to approve the certified personnel report. Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the classified personnel report.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Need a motion to approve the administrative appointments. Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Need a motion to amend and extend the contract of Andrea Haynes to 6/30/24. Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Need a motion to approve the school improvement plans for the 27 schools not designated as low-performing schools. Second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Need a motion to approve the preliminary plans for improvement, school improvement plans for the 4 schools designated as low-performing schools.
So moved.
Oh, okay. I need a motion to approve the administrative transfer.
But you got one motion, there's one motion
Here's
on,
the one you will move.
Okay, so I have a second to the low
I
school
think you
designated.
just had a motion.
Have a motion?
for Performing schools, so you need a second.
Okay, I need a second, okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Then I need a motion to approve the administrative transfer.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So anything else? Need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I make a motion we adjourn.
Thank you, sir. All those, have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.